All right, hello. This is Byron Campbell, also known as Kitten Hoarder on Board Game Geek. Wishing you a very happy Labor Day or restful Labor Day, productive Labor Day, I don't know. And the reason that I'm recording this video is a few months ago, I recorded a playthrough of Space Alert, the cooperative real-time game from Czech designer Vlada Kvatil, and I was wanting to follow it up for a long time with another video, but, you know, it takes up a lot of space. I'm recording this on my iPad, because I don't have any fancy video recording software. I don't have any video editing software, so just to get this out of the way up front, this is going to be just a straight record all the way through, and then chop it into segments and upload it to YouTube. There's not going to be any fancy editing going on whatsoever. In any case, recording this on my iPad, I don't have a lot of space, so I need to delete things, move some things around, you know, make time, figure out what I want to record, so it took a little while before I was able to prepare for this next video. Hopefully, this will be worthwhile to somebody. The aim of this video is, it's sort of a slightly video review, video playthrough of the card game Onirim, which is a solitaire or two-player cooperative card game from designer Shadi Torbey. It's published by Z-Man Games. There's actually a new edition of this game coming out in the very near future that will expand upon the game in certain ways, and I'm very excited about that. This is not my favorite game to play solitaire. I am primarily a solitaire gamer. I play most of my games solo. And this game fills a particular niche in that it is very quick and very clean, I guess I would say, in terms of the mental processes that are required to play the game. But it isn't my favorite game, and in fact, I think it is on its way to being replaced by some other games that play in a relatively similar time period, but offer a little bit more meat in terms of strategic depth. However, I'm very excited about the new edition of the game coming out, which will expand the content quite a bit of the game, and I'm very excited to see what that new edition brings to the table. So, before I get into the playthrough, I will just briefly describe the game. Like I said before, this is a solitaire or two-player cooperative game. It can be played either way. You can't play it with more than two players, but the two-player variant, I find to be quite good, and I've actually played a few games solitaire playing as two hands using the two-player variant, because it introduces some new strategic options. It is quite a bit harder, I think, than the solitaire game. It plays, the back of the box says that it plays in 15 minutes. That's pretty accurate. I would say a lot of the time it plays in less than 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And let's just see what's inside the box. So the first thing you notice when you open up the box is that there are actually two rule sheets, one for the basic game and one for the expansions, and that is pretty much the main thing that sets Onirim apart, is that it comes with 3 expansions packaged inside the game box. Now, don't get me wrong, these aren't like big Arkham Horror type expansions. These are little mini, they're more like game variants. They add new options to the game, they add new goals to the game. All of them make the game more difficult in some ways and give you more options to deal with the increased difficulty. So, if you play the basic game, and you find yourself dissatisfied with the amount of strategic and tactical choices that you have to make, start right away with these expansions, because they really increase that. And some people say that the game is best played by using all expansions simultaneously. I prefer to sort of cycle through them, and that gives the game a lot of replayability as you play, essentially, between 4 and, 9 different variations on the game, depending on which expansions you leave in, keep out, etc., etc. Keep in, leave out, put in, whatever. Okay. And that's the big draw of the new edition coming out, is that it increases the amount of expansions that are packaged in the game from 3 to, I don't know, I would have to look it up, but it adds several new expansions to the game. And it comes in a larger box, obviously, to hold all of the new cards. And I'm really interested to see what the new expansions add, because right now you have 3 expansions. You can play with 1, 2, or 3 of them at once. That gives a lot of different variation, and you can just imagine adding just 1 new expansion to the mix. You have that many more different variations of the game that you can play. But adding several new expansions exponentially increases the amount of different variables when setting up the game. Okay, next in the box, you will notice, first of all, this is a very small box. Very, very small box. I guess pretty average size for just a simple card game, but, you can easily pack this into your carry-on, going on an airplane, you can pack it into your backpack. It's very, very portable, which is nice, and the game itself doesn't take up a lot of space. Inside the box, no space is wasted, as you can see, and that is actually a bit of a problem when you are thinking of sleeving the cards, as some people like to do. I actually had these cards sleeved for a while, and I eventually stopped doing it because it was just too much hassle. I'll explain why in a little bit, why I thought about sleeving them and why I eventually took the sleeves off. But just so people are prepared, as you could probably guess if you've put your cards into sleeves in the past, the amount of space taken up by the cards in the box without sleeves leaves absolutely no room for the additional space that sleeves take up. You're going to need to find a different storage solution for the game. I had all of the basic game cards, which is this pile and some of this pile. I had all of those in a little plastic bag outside of the box, and I had just the expansion cards in sleeves in the box. And that worked okay, but I'm very happy to be able to use the actual box to store the game now. Okay. So, let me just separate out the expansion cards, and I will briefly touch on what they are, but I'm just going to be going through the basic game today. So, these are the expansions. There are 3 expansions. There's the Book of Steps Lost and Found, which is a set of spells that you can cast, which have various effects that you activate by removing cards from your discard pile. That's what these numbers here mean. It's how many cards you have to remove from your discard pile in order to activate the effect. So, as you discard cards throughout the game for various reasons, you're powering up these spells, which is nice because discarding cards in this game is generally bad. So, you get a little bit of payoff for the bad luck of having to discard a lot of cards. However, it also comes with these cards, which have little books on the reverse side, and on the front they have little grayed out versions of the 4 colors of door in the game. And as I will describe shortly, the goal of the game is to discover all 8 doors. There's 2 of each color and 4 colors. In the basic game, you can do this in any order. in this variant, you have to shuffle these cards up and lay them out at the beginning of the game and in a single row, and you must discover the doors in that particular order. So along with the increased options of being able to cast these spells, which one of the spells lets you change the order of the doors that you have to discover them in, you are very hamstrung in having to discover the 8 doors in a particular order. That is Expansion 1. Expansion 2 adds a new sub-goal to the game, and it is the Dream Towers. And the Dream Towers are these new cards that go straight into the deck. And the goal of this game is the goal of this variant is that in addition to discovering the 8 doors, and discovering them in order if you're using alongside this other variant, you have to create an alignment of towers, which is basically one tower of each color in a row, organized so that the same symbol does not touch an adjacent tower. So this would be illegal. That would also be illegal. Let's see if we can find. So this and this would be fine because you have a moon here and a sun here. They're not symbols are not overlapping. Same if we did this way. And some of these have a blank side, so that you could have anything on the other side of this, even another blank side. So you have to create this alignment of towers. There are various effects that cause the towers to crumble, meaning you have to discard them and hope to find a new one. There's only 3 towers of each color. I think there's 3. Yeah, it looks like there's 3 towers of each color. And in addition, so this obviously makes the game much more difficult, trying to assemble these towers before they crumble, get them in the right order. In addition, you can discard these towers for a special effect, which is basically draw this number of cards, discard any number of them that you want, and put the rest back on the top of the deck in any order. So the more useful towers let you also draw more cards if you play them for that other effect. Obviously, if you play the towers for that effect, you are not playing them into your alignment, and you are running the risk of discarding all three towers of a certain color and not being able to complete the game. The final variant is this one, which is Dark Premonitions and Happy Dreams. It adds these dream cards to the deck. And these are just regular cards that go straight into the deck, and they offer you a multitude of choices of positive effects that you can activate, which, I won't go into in detail, but they're very, very powerful. There's only 4 of them that go into the entire deck, but they're very, very powerful, very useful. However, it also adds these Dark Premonition cards, which you draw 4 of them at the start of the game, and they have various conditions, and then once the condition is fulfilled, you have to perform this effect at the bottom of the card, which is generally really bad. This one is, as soon as you've discovered 3 doors, no matter what color they are, you have to discard your entire hand and draw a new Dark Premonition card. So that's terrible, because you really don't want to have any more of these than you start out with. This one, if you've discovered both green doors, you take all of your nightmare cards, which I'll get to in a bit, those are bad, from the discard pile and put them back into the deck. Or I believe it's just 1 nightmare card from the discard pile. This one, when you've discovered both red doors, you take all red cards out of the deck and put them into the discard pile, and so forth. Really, really, really bad effects. One of the positive effects of the dream cards is that you can discard one of these without having to perform its effect. But they also have other really powerful effects, so that's a choice that you have to make. Do you want to use this Happy Dream card to get rid of one of these bad dark premonitions that are coming up, or just deal with the dark premonition and use the dream card to fulfill one of your other objectives. So, those are the expansions. Now I'm going to get all of these cards out of the way. We won't be dealing with them, and I'm going to discuss how to play the basic game of Onirim. Just before we move on, one addendum to the expansion video that I just recorded. I already made a mistake. I was misremembering, and I mixed up the effect of the towers when you discard them. And I got a little swapped with the Happy Dream cards. When you discard a tower, you get to look at whatever number of cards printed on the tower, and then put them back on the top of the deck in any order. You don't get to discard any cards. The Happy Dream cards are the ones that one of their effects is you can discard any number of cards from the ones that you peek at. So just be aware, that was my mistake. Always read the rules, don't take my word for anything, really. Okay, Onirim. So, the game of Onirim is a game about dreams. In Onirim, you are trapped in sort of a dream labyrinth, and you have to escape, and the way that you escape is by finding the 8 dream doors. There's 2 of these doors in each color, and the 4 colors are brown, green, red, and blue. Once you've found all 8 doors, the game is immediately over, you win. If you get through the bottom of the deck without finding all 8 doors, you lose. So, it's sort of a race. Try to find all 8 doors before you get to the bottom of the deck. And that's why, in the previous video, I described discarding cards is generally bad, because you don't ever get to reshuffle, your discard pile into your draw deck and start again. These cards are all you get, to find the 8 doors and escape. Once you're done, your time is out. So, how do you do this? Well, the majority of the game is spent playing cards from your hand into what's called your labyrinth. So you begin the game with a hand of 5 cards, and they are all going to be these labyrinth cards. The labyrinth cards, similar to the door cards, come in 4 colors, matching the colors of the doors, and they all have a symbol in the top left and top right corner, matching symbols in both corners. When you play a card into your labyrinth, it's very simple. You just put it into a row in front of you that grows ever longer as you play the game, and the only rule is that the card that you play cannot have the same symbol as the card that you played last time into the labyrinth. So if my labyrinth currently showed a sun and then a moon, the last card I played was a moon, I could not play another moon. I could play another sun, or I could play this key. Now, as soon as you've played 3 cards consecutively of the same color into your labyrinth, following the rule that they have to alternate symbols, so it could be sun, moon, moon, sun, moon, moon, key, moon, moon, key, sun, etc., etc. As soon as that's happened, you get to search this deck of cards for the matching colored door and put it in front of you as a door that you have discovered. So the main path to beating the game is playing cards into your dream labyrinth to discover the dream doors. Let's say I've done this, and I then play another brown card. I don't immediately get to discover the next door. I have to play another 3 consecutive cards of the same color in order to discover the next door. There are a few hitches, though. First of all, there are these nightmare cards. And the nightmare cards, there's, how many of them are in this deck? 10 of them. Seems like more, really, because they come up all the time. The nightmare cards are really bad. When you draw a nightmare card, oh, I guess I should say, you always have a hand of 5 cards. As soon as you play a card, you then draw back up to 5. If for some reason you play more than one card in a row, or you discard multiple cards from your hand, you draw back up to 5 before you can play another card. So you always have to have 5 cards in your hand before you can play a card. If when you're drawing back up, you draw one of these nightmare cards, bad stuff happens. And basically this is one of the 2 decision points in the game. Well, 3 decision points. When you draw a nightmare card, you have a choice. And I'm reading straight from the rules to make sure I don't mess anything up here. You may discard a card from your hand showing the key. Now, these key cards are very powerful, as I will describe shortly, so this is generally not what you want to do, but sometimes, you basically get to deal with the nightmare scot-free. Just have to get rid of one card from your hand. And that would be a situation where you've just played a card, you're drawing back up, you get a nightmare card, you discard a key card from your hand, so now you have to draw 2 more cards before you have your hand full of 5 cards again. Alright, discard a key card from your hand, and then you get to discard the nightmare card along with it. Or, you can place a door card that you've already discovered into your limbo pile, and the limbo pile is just a term that the game uses to describe cards that are going to be shuffled back into the deck. So basically, you're shuffling this back into the deck because of this nightmare. That is an option. I will just be straight with you. I never do this. It might be a good strategy. I never do this. I guess one reason you might want to do this is, let's say you know that there are hardly any blue cards left, and you haven't discovered the last blue door yet. But you know there's a ton of red cards, and you have 2 red doors. You might get rid of one of your red doors in the hopes of finding it again before the game ends. But because the entire goal of the game is discovering these 8 doors, I never discard them if I can help it. So that's another option to dealing with a nightmare card. The next 2 options are pretty similar, actually. Either you discard your entire hand. Now, obviously, if you have any keys in your hand, it's probably better to just discard the key. If you don't, you can discard your entire hand and draw back up. And the benefit to this is that after you've discarded your entire hand, when you draw back up, if you draw another one of these nightmare cards, you don't have to deal with it. It gets shuffled, it gets put in your limbo pile, and shuffled back into the deck eventually. So, if you have a really, really poor hand, you don't really have any options, you're not seeing anything important with those cards, discard your whole hand. I generally choose this option, or this other option, which is revealing the first 5 cards of the deck, and any labyrinth cards, which are these cards, basically anything except for the nightmares and the doors. Any labyrinth cards you reveal from the first 5 cards get discarded. So, this is another option that can be good. If you just happen to have a lot of nightmare cards coming up in the deck, you might only end up discarding 1 or 2 or 3 labyrinth cards instead of 5, which you would do if you discarded your entire hand. But, like I said, this deck is all you have. So since you don't know what those next 5 cards are, you might end up discarding 3 key cards. Or, all of the moon cards that you would need to find a door that you need. So any option you choose is risky. And the entire game is about managing the risk and deciding which is the best option at the moment to deal with the nightmare. I mentioned there are about 3 key decision points in the game. One of them is what to do when you draw a nightmare. The other one, or another one, is in which order to go after these doors. Now, like I said before, you can go after the doors in any order, it doesn't matter. And so let's say you have a hand of cards. You have 2 cards of one color, 2 cards of another color. One of the choices you have to make is, do I go after brown? Do I go after green? Based on the cards you have in your hand. This is generally a pretty obvious choice, but sometimes it's not. Like, say you've already played 2 brown cards and you're just not drawing brown cards. Do you keep drawing cards and wasting, like basically burning through the deck trying to find the next brown card, or do you just move on and start a new color? That's a decision you might have to make in this game. The final major decision you have to make is what to do with your key cards. Now, I mentioned these are really powerful. One option with a key card is to hold it in your hand so that when you draw a nightmare card, you can just discard the key card along with the nightmare card and move on. However, there are a lot of other things you can do. If you are holding a key card and when you're refilling your hand, you draw a door card, because these door cards are shuffled, just like the nightmare cards, they're shuffled right into the deck. If you draw a door card and you happen to be holding the matching key card, you can discard the key card and discover the door immediately without having to play cards into your labyrinth. Now, that is huge. I'm going to be honest with you, that hardly ever happens when I play the game. Maybe I'm just playing it poorly, but that's pretty good. So that's another reason you might want to hold on to these key cards. But there's another use, and another use for the key cards is playing them into your labyrinth. I do this sometimes. It doesn't seem very efficient because these key cards can be used for so many other things to play them into your labyrinth, but if you got 2 symbols already and you just need a 3rd one, that's just as good as drawing a door card and playing the key. You just play the key and you get the door. So that's another option. The final option, though, and what makes these cards so powerful, is you can discard a key card instead of playing a card for your turn and draw the top 5 cards of the deck. And I just did this just randomly, and I drew these 5 cards. Now, whenever you do this, whenever you discard a key card, you have to discard one of these 5 cards that you drew. You can never discard a door card. Those always go into your limbo pile to be reshuffled back into the deck if you draw them or whatever. But you may discard this nightmare card. So, similar to if you just draw a nightmare card and you can discard a key to get rid of it, you can discard a key to look at the next 5 cards, probably get rid of a nightmare card if you're lucky, and then put the cards back on top of the deck in any order you choose. So let's say I'm working on red. I could do this, and I say, oh, there's a red card. I'm going to put that on top. And then I don't need green right now, so I'm going to put this door under it. Because whenever you draw a door, you put it in your limbo pile. And then you keep drawing until you get something that you can actually put into your hand, which is only labyrinth cards. And that's sort of an advanced technique of the game, but basically, like I said about the limbo pile, it just means it's going to get shuffled into your deck. As soon as you've refilled your hand, you take all the cards that are in your limbo pile and shuffle them into the deck. So, if you've looked at the top cards of the deck, and you know that you don't need any of them, you can pretty much force a shuffle of the deck to hopefully bring a better card up toward the top. Like I said, that's sort of an advanced strategy of the game. But free tip. Alright. So, those are the basics of Onirim. There's, a few other tiny rules, like, you don't have to play a card into your labyrinth every turn. You can discard a card, even if it's not a key. And you might do this because, you already have 2 brown cards and you don't have any more brown cards in your hand and you want to just play the next card into your labyrinth, have it be a brown card so you can discover the door. So you can just discard cards from your hand, hoping to draw that next brown card. Like I said, that can get a little dangerous, so you have to be aware of when, you might be better off just switching to a new color and just, saying to hell with it with the 2 brown cards you've already put down into your labyrinth. This might sound a little bit complicated. I'm going to run through the game now. Alright, here we are once again with Onirim, the solitaire and cooperative card game from Shadi Torbey, published by Z-Man Games. So I've got it all set up to start playing. I'm going to go through the entire game from start to finish. It shouldn't take long because it's a very, very quick playing game, even though I'm going to be describing everything as I go. And I apologize ahead of time. Like I said in my introductory video, if you haven't seen that, I'm recording all of this on my iPad, uploading it directly to YouTube. Getting the camera angle right and a good shot is a little tricky, so hopefully I've got it set up so that we'll be able to see most of the action just fine, and I can move things around as the case as required. So I'm going to start by putting the draw deck somewhere within shot. There we go. And then I draw my starting hand. And when you draw your starting hand, basically anytime you have to draw up from 0 cards, you put any nightmares or door cards that you draw into the limbo pile to get shuffled into the deck. So, I'm going to draw. That one stays. That one will go into the limbo pile. That one stays, and we keep drawing until we have 5 cards that are actually going to be in our hand. Okay, now right there, this is our starting hand. You can see I've got a pretty good setup for getting that blue door already. I've got 3 blue cards, all with different symbols. So, I'm probably going to want to go for the blue door first. Then I take these 2 nightmare cards that I drew, and I shuffle them back into the deck. Now, I mentioned in my introductory video that I previously had these cards sleeved, and I took them out of the sleeves, and I would explain why. And the reason why is because there is an insane amount of shuffling in this game. Now, some people find shuffling easier with sleeves, some people find shuffling harder with sleeves. I'm a little neutral about it. It's definitely different with sleeves. I think it's slightly easier without them. But the big problem that I had was, just put my hand there so it's visible. The big problem that I had was that I had cheap sleeves. These were like penny sleeves. I got like a pack of 1,000 sleeves for $10, something like that. And the problem with these sleeves was they weren't completely uniform. Some of them were slightly different sizes. So when I shuffled the deck, especially as I had to shuffle the deck repeatedly, certain cards would tend to clump together because the sleeves were slightly different sizes. So that would result in certain cards, the distribution of the cards was not completely random, as one would like it to be in a game in which shuffling is such a dominant feature. So that's why I took them out of the sleeves. That aside, out of the way, let's start playing. So we have our hand of 5 cards. Now we can either play a card or discard a card. I could discard this key right away to look at the top 5 cards of the deck, see what's coming, maybe get rid of a nightmare card, but I'm pretty confident, since I have these 3 cards that are going to let me discover that blue door, I'm just going to go straight for it. Now, I have a choice. Do I start with the moon or the sun, or the key? I don't want to start with the key because I want to keep that in my hand as long as possible because it's so useful for so many different things. Now, the moon and the sun and the moon symbols, there is a little bit of strategy involved in choosing which one to start your labyrinth with. The sun symbols are more prevalent in the deck than the moon symbols. I don't know the exact distribution, but there's slightly different distribution in terms of colors. I think brown and red are more common than green and blue. And in terms of symbols, suns are more common than moons. Therefore, if I start with a moon here, and then I play a sun, I'm going to need to draw another moon or play that key in order to complete the set. And I know that drawing a moon is less likely, but that will let me start the next set with a sun. And since I already have a moon and a sun, I'm going to go ahead and start with a moon, hopefully draw another moon, and then be able to start my next set with a sun, which will let me go sun, moon, sun, which is a lot easier to complete than moon, sun, moon, since suns are more common than moons. So I'm going to start with this moon. I'm going to play it into my labyrinth. And then, because I've played a card, I immediately have to draw back up to 5 cards before I can play again. And it was a sun, so not what I wanted. I wanted a blue moon. Alright, I'm going to play this sun immediately into my labyrinth, and draw back up, and that's a red key. So now I have a choice. I can play this blue key and immediately discover the blue door, or I can discard a key in order to look at the top 5 cards, see what they are, hopefully get another blue moon, so I won't have to get rid of this blue key. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of this red key. So I'm going to discard it. Unfortunately, my discard pile isn't in the shot. Now, when you discard a key, you may look at the top 5 cards, so that's what I'm going to do. 2, 3, oh, perfect. Perfect. And you have to discard one of those cards. Now, obviously, I'm going to choose to discard this nightmare card because I don't want to have to deal with it. There's 10 nightmares in the deck. I just got rid of the first one. Then I put the rest of these on top of the deck in any order. Now, clearly, I'm going to want to put the key card on top. But what else do I want to do? Now, as soon as I draw the key card, which will be the next card I draw, I'm going to then play it and discover the door. So it doesn't really matter what I choose, because as soon as I discover the door, I'm going to search through the deck for the door card and shuffle it again. So it doesn't matter what else I put on the top in this particular case. So, draw back up to 5 cards before I can play anything, and another blue key. Then I'm going to play that key into my labyrinth, and right there I've got 3 cards of the same color in my labyrinth, and I get to search for the door. So, this is very awkward. But normally what I do is I start on the bottom of the deck, and I just go through like this, and keep searching until I find the blue door. There are 2 doors of each color. Now, what's really cool about that is it gives you a little bit of a sense, almost subliminal, of how many cards, I have to shuffle the deck here, how many cards of each kind are remaining in the deck. You know, you shouldn't spend 5 minutes carefully studying and, memorizing what cards are remaining, but it gives you a good sense, oh, there's not that many blue cards left, or oh, there's a lot of nightmares coming up. And that will influence, your other decisions in the game. So I've discovered this blue door, and I'm not quite sure where to put it, where it's in the shot, so I'm just going to start up here, and hopefully I'll be able to get at least the first few doors in the shot there. So I still have to draw back up to 5 cards, because I've just played a card. So I draw, and hopefully it's not a nightmare. Okay, it's a green key. So that makes me think that it might be a good time to start on the green. So I'm going to play this green sun. Draw. It's a brown sun, not very helpful. So what I'm going to do, because I've already discovered one of the blue doors, I think I'm going to play this blue key, because I want to keep this green key in case I need it to complete the set. Play this blue key, discard it to look at the top 5 cards again, and hopefully get some more green cards into my hand. So, discarding this key, I'm going to look at the top 5 cards. Unfortunately, you can't do anything with that door. There's another door I can't do anything with. There's a nightmare I get to get rid of. Excellent, there's another green key. So I'm going to get rid of this nightmare card as my forced discard. You always have to discard 1 card. And I definitely am going to want to draw this key first. And I think I'm also going to want to have this brown moon, because I can start on brown sun, moon, sun, possibly. So, draw back up, and it's this key that I just put on top. I'm going to go ahead and play this key right there. Not terribly efficient. You want to use those keys for other things, but then I can play any green card other than another key, and I'll have completed my set. Draw back up. Can't really do anything right now. So I'm going to discard this other green key and look at the top 5 cards. My other option would be I could start a new set, which I don't want to do because I'm only 1 card away from completing it, or I could discard any of these cards to just sort of burn through the deck and hope that I get another green card. But I'm going to discard this green card and look at the next 5 cards. Now I already know what the first 2 are, these 2 doors. And then I've got a blue sun. Oh man, not helpful at all. Now I have to discard one of these, and I can't discard any of the doors, so I'm going to have to discard one of these blue suns. And I'm just going to go ahead and put these doors on the top, doesn't really matter, and then draw back up. So I have only 4 cards in my hand, I'm going to have to draw back up. Let's go. I can't draw that into my hand, I can't draw that into my hand, can't draw that. So these go into the limbo pile. They're going to get shuffled in as soon as I've got 5 cards in my hand. And this blue sun. Not what I wanted at all. So then I'm going to have to shuffle this deck again. So I'm going to do that off camera here. Hopefully, I'm going to get another green card soon, because what I'm going to be forced to do now is just discard cards from my hand. I have no more keys with which to look at the next cards in the deck, so I'm just going to have to discard cards out of my hand. Just waste time. Now I already have a blue door. I have 2 blue suns in my hand. I'm going to discard this blue sun. Hopefully it's something I can use. Okay, great. It's a green sun. So since it's not this matching a key, I can play it into my labyrinth and search for that first green door. There it is. And put it into my pile of doors. I'm trying to get 8 doors, 2 in each color. Shuffle the deck back up and draw back up. We'll see what happens. Okay, hopefully it's another key, because I could use one. Nope, it's just a sun. Well, since I have a sun here and I have 2 brown cards, I'm going to play this brown moon and start working on brown, and hopefully I'll get a brown door. Draw. Another green. Play this brown. Draw. It's a nightmare. Now, since I don't have any keys in my hand to discard, I have a choice. I can discard one of these doors I've already discovered. As I said in my intro video, I never do this. It might be a good strategy, but I've never done it. So my choice really is discard my entire hand, which is looking pretty tempting because none of these cards are doing anything for me right now. They're just a bunch of suns, which are pretty common, and none of them are brown. Or discard the top 5 cards of the deck, not including any nightmares or doors. That one, in some cases, is a good move, but I think because I have a bunch of cards that I'm not using at all, I'm going to just discard my whole hand, along with this nightmare card. So, draw back up. And again, just like when you're drawing at the start of the game, you put any door or nightmare cards aside into the limbo pile when you draw back up. Only do this when you're drawing back up from 0 cards. Oh, look at that. Look at all those brown cards. And look at all these nightmares I'm avoiding. This is turned out to be a pretty good move. But you can see this deck size is already about half the size that it started at. And I only have 2 doors. So, I have this big old limbo pile I'm going to have to shuffle into the deck. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, lots of shuffling in this game. And we can continue. All right. So, what do we have? Unfortunately, there's two brown suns. Aren't doing me any good. I could play this brown key and discover the brown door, or I could discard the brown key and see what the next cards are, and hopefully one of them is a brown moon. They're both pretty tempting options. If I discard this key, I might be able to get rid of a nightmare card. If I play the key, I just straight up get the door, no hassle. I think I'm going to risk it, hopefully find some brown moons, and I'm going to discard this key. So let's see. Okay, right there, a nightmare card I'm going to get to discard. Wow! Oh man, look at all those brown suns. Nothing helping me at all here. Get rid of this nightmare card as my forced discard. And I'm going to put this door card on top. Put this nightmare card on the bottom. And I already have a lot of brown suns, so I guess I'm going to put this red card underneath. So what this is going to mean is when I draw back up, I'm going to draw the door card. Can't put it in my hands, so it's going to go in the limbo pile. I'm going to draw this red sun. I can put that in my hand. And then after that, because I have a card in my limbo pile, I'm shuffling the deck. So I'm going to get to avoid having to draw this nightmare, unless I end up drawing another one. So let's do that. Draw. That goes in limbo. That goes in my hand, and as soon as my hand is full, we shuffle the limbo pile into the deck. This is what I mentioned in the previous video about forcing a shuffle, which is one of the nice strategic options that you have in the game. Man, I'm really regretting not just playing that key into my labyrinth. But, you know, if I had drawn a different set of cards, it might have been a really good move. I could have drawn a moon and completed that, set myself up for the next door, and gotten rid of a nightmare. Alright, my hand is full, so what am I going to do? Well, I don't need this many brown cards, so I'm going to discard this brown sun. Oh man. Bad luck. Well, this hand really isn't doing anything for me. I'm going to discard my entire hand. My other main option would be discarding the top 5 cards of the deck, but hopefully there's some moons in there. I would choose that second option if I had, if I was actively working on something, if I had that moon in my hand, I just needed to play it, I would definitely discard from the top of the deck instead. But since this hand isn't doing anything for me right now, I mean, it has the makings of another blue door, but it seems like the lesser of two evils. So I'm going to draw back up, and just like at the start of the game, if I draw if I draw doors or nightmares, I'm going to put them in limbo. So, door. Oh, a key. That's useful. A moon. Where's all my brown moons, man? Oh, come on. Where's all my brown moons? Oh, man. So, you can see that luck of the draw really plays a significant role in this game. And sort of playing the odds is the main skill that this game tests. It's not a game of, major strategic choices. Your choices are pretty limited. But, the deck can be set up so that you pretty much can't win a game. It's rare, but it's possible that no matter what you do, you are destined to lose that game, depending on how the deck is stacked. But, the game is quick enough that it doesn't make a huge difference. I'm still working on that brown card, on that brown door. I could give up and start on this red. You know, I could do moon, sun, and hope and play this as the third one. But I'm holding out my hopes because I haven't seen any brown. Well, let's look at my discard pile. How many brown moons have I discarded over the course of the game? None. So I know there are several brown moon cards still in the deck. I'm going to discard this key and hope to get one. Alright, let's see what we got. If there are no brown moon cards in here, I'm crying foul. 1, 2, 3. Oh, come on. Alright, that'll do. That's good enough. Now, unfortunately, I have to discard one of these cards. Keys are implicitly more useful than moons. So I'm going to discard this green moon. Would have been nice to be able to discard a nightmare card, and I'm going to put this one on top and draw back up. Alright. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I'm playing this into my labyrinth, and I'm going to discover the brown door. One thing I haven't mentioned, but you can clearly see, is that the artwork in this game is fantastic. It's just phenomenal. And the designer, I believe, also is responsible for the art, and has expanded this series. There's another game called Urbion, or Equilibrion. Equilibrium. I'm not quite sure what the other term is, but I call it Urbion. It depends on the country of publication, and that is also set in the Onirim universe, and uses sort of similar gameplay mechanics, but completely different game. And like I mentioned before, there's this re-release of Onirim coming out. Same artwork in the reissue, it's just some new expansion cards added in. Okay, I need to draw back up. Alright, now I believe it is time to start in on the first red door. As it so happens, I'm discovering one door of each color at a time. Sometimes you discover, multiple doors of the same color in a row. I'm just trying to go for the ones that I have the best chance of succeeding at. So, I could have done moon first, but since sun is more prevalent than moon, I'm going sun first. Alright, can't do anything with that. If I had a red key in my hand, I could immediately discover this door, which would be very nice. But as it is, it goes into my limbo pile, and I get another key. Gonna have to shuffle again. Did I mention there's some shuffling in this game? Yeah. So yeah, this artwork is fantastic. There's a theme to each of the colors. Brown is library, and you can see that the labyrinth cards have these nice, oh come on, focus, have these nice sort of Ghostbusters, flying books, magical library feel. Everything is in this sort of watercolor design. The library door has a little book above it. The green cards are the gardens, or the greenhouse. The blue cards are the aquarium, and you can see these fish, sort of goldfish, and everything is very sort of surreal. And the red cards are the observatory cards. And the doors all match the labyrinth cards, and as you get into the expansions, the tower cards also match. Alright. So I've drawn back up, and I could play this key card to see what's coming next, but I'm going to first play this moon, just to get it out of my hand. Okay. Look, I've got the makings for another brown door if I don't end up playing the key card. But since I have no more red cards in my hand, I'm going to discard this key card to see what's coming. Alright. Oh, there we go. No, that's not the one I need, though. Alright, at least I get to get rid of one of the nightmares. Okay, I'm going to discard this nightmare. Unfortunately, there's none of the red cards that I need. So I really need to make a decision here whether I'm going to... I could go straight to this brown door, which I think is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put that brown on top. Put this blue, green, red. And I'm going to abandon going for this red door, because I know that in the next few cards, none of them are going to help me. So I'm going to end up discarding 4 or 5 cards before I have another chance to get a red card. So I'm going to abandon this red, and I'm going to start again on brown. Now, even though I'm not continuing in the same color, I still have to alternate symbols. So I have to play this sun. Draw. Ooh. Oh, I should have drawn. I'm going to draw again. Moon. Draw again. Sun. And I get to find the next brown door. And you can see this pile is growing thinner by the minute. Brown door. As you get deeper and deeper into the game, the doors become more prevalent because the other cards get thinned out. The nightmares become more prevalent. And it can get really tense as the deck gets really tiny. Especially if there's like 5 cards left in the deck. And they might all be nightmares. You don't know. Well, if you've been keeping track, you know, but... Alright. A red card. The red card that I needed. Great. Okay, so I have a choice. I can go for green or blue by playing one of these suns, or I can just discard cards, hoping to get more cards I need. Well, I'm going to, I believe, let's see. I'm not sure which is more rare between green and blue, but I think that blue is more rare, so I'm going to try and go for blue first. I'm going to rotate this a little bit so you have a better view of the cards that I'm continuing to play into the labyrinth. Blue. Draw a new card. Okay. Blue sun. Draw a new card. Okay, I'm getting back to where I can get that red door now. And once again, I'm stuck. I can't play anything else. Now, I've discovered both brown doors, so it doesn't really hurt me to discard this brown sun unless I draw a nightmare and end up getting rid of that brown door I've already discovered. I believe I've made clear I never take that option, so I'm just going to discard this brown sun. Let's hope... Oh, man. Now this is a really tough decision. I could discard my whole hand. It's not helping me toward that blue. But, for all I know, there's not enough green cards left in the deck to discover the next green door. And I haven't discovered any red doors. So if I discard these 2 red cards, I might really be shooting myself in the foot. But if I discard the next 5 cards in the deck, I have no idea what I'll be getting rid of. Oh man, this is a really tough choice. Part of me wants to discard the next 5 cards of the deck just to demonstrate what that looks like. That's what I'm going to do. It might not be the best choice, but I haven't shown that option yet. Ironically, just as I was about to choose an option that I thought strategically was sort of a poor choice, but I chose the option mainly because I wanted to be able to record it and let you see how it plays out in the game. As I played that option out, the video stopped recording because I had ran out of space, so I had to move some things around. The other videos haven't finished uploading yet. I haven't gotten the confirmation from YouTube, so I wasn't able to delete those. Delete some other things on my iPad. Hopefully there's room to complete this playthrough. But we're going to pick up the pace a little bit, just in case. As we ended the last video, I was about to show you what it looks like when you draw the top 5 cards of the deck and discard those instead of discarding your hand when you've drawn a nightmare card. And these were the cards that ended up being discarded. There was one door card among them, or it was door card or a nightmare card. In either case, those don't get discarded when you choose this option. But these 4 cards ended up getting discarded, which was really bad for me because I have no red doors yet, and I ended up losing 2 red cards and a key. So, probably would have been better off doing this, especially because I still am not able to complete that blue door. And I really don't want to give up on it, because who knows how many more blue cards are left in the deck. As you can see, it's gotten very, very thin now. However, these red cards are going to be really, really rare. I think I'm just going to have to start playing these green cards, get that green door out, and hope for the best in regard to this blue one. So, I can easily do a moon, sun, moon combo here. I'm going to try for that. Draw. Red door. Green door. And a blue key. Oh my gosh! That would have been the one I need to complete that blue door. So what I'm going to try to do, this doesn't tend to play out this way when you play this game, but I'm going to have to go for it. I don't know how many more blue cards are left in my draw deck here, so I'm going to try to hold this card in my hand and hopefully draw the blue door, so I'll be able to discard the key to get the door immediately. I'm going to keep playing these green cards in the meantime. There's a red key that's very useful. And a green moon. And let's get that door out. Where's the green door? There it is. Passed by it the first time. Okay. Shuffle up the cards. When the deck gets this small, I tend to do this kind of sloppy shuffle. And we're going to have to draw back up. Hopefully, draw a blue door. Oh! It's a nightmare. I could discard this blue key. I could discard this red key. I don't have any red doors yet. But I have very little chance of getting that blue door. I'm going to discard the red key because I got 2 other red cards in my hand and hope for the best. I'm going to need to draw 2 more cards before I can play anymore. Oh, there's a red. Oh, that's perfect. I can start working on red. And oh no! Gonna get rid of this blue key. And draw back up. Oh dear, okay. So I've got the makings of 2 red doors back to back, if I can avoid drawing any more nightmares. But as you can see, there's almost no cards left in the deck. It's looking very unlikely I'm going to discover all the doors, so the next goal is just go for as many as you can. That's what I'm going to do. Another nightmare. Now I have all these red cards in my hand. I'm not getting rid of these red cards. So I'm going to have to discard off the top of the deck because I have no keys and I don't want to get rid of a door. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and look at all those cards I had to get rid of. Have to discard these 3 alongside the nightmare and shuffle these 2 doors back into the deck, and now this deck is super thin. It's almost impossible for me to win, but let's see if I can get at least 1 more door out before the game ends. Gotta keep drawing back up. Okay, perfect. Okay, I've discovered a red door. There we go. Shuffle back up. You can see there's only there's 5 cards left in the deck. It would be impossible for me to discover. Let's see. Actually, I only need 1 red door and 1 blue door to win. So it's pretty damn unlikely, but it might happen. And another red. Alright, so Gonna go for a moon, sun, moon in red. Shuffle, shuffle. Oh man. Oh, this is not good. Sun and moon. No, that was a sun. And moon. Okay. Get that red door, and as you can see, oh, there we go. As you can see, the only cards left in the deck are the blue door and a green sun. It would be impossible for me to now get that other door I need to win. So, just for the sake of appearances, I'm going to shuffle that up. I only have 4 cards left in my hand. I'm going to have to draw. I draw 1 green sun, and I could play any card out of my hand. I'm going to start with this blue sun, and then I draw. It's a door, so I put it in limbo. I would have to draw again before I can play any more cards. There are no cards left to draw. That means the game ends in a loss. I was able to get out 7 of the 8 doors. I just was missing 1 blue door needed to escape the labyrinth and win the game. Which is a lot better than I thought I was doing, to be honest. I think I underestimated the amount of red cards in the deck, overestimated the amount of blue cards in the deck, maybe made a few tactical errors here and there, or maybe the deck was just stacked against me. Okay, with what little storage space I have remaining, I'm going to do a quickie review of Onirim. You've just seen me play a full game of it. That was the basic game. As I mentioned before, it comes with 3 expansions in the box. The new version of the game adds several more expansions to the mix. A lot of variety here, but is the game itself worth playing that many times? Okay. As I mentioned previously, this game, for a long time, filled an important niche in my game collection. It's a solitaire game that you can play super quickly, 10 minutes. If I wasn't going through, all of the options out loud, it would have taken me about 10 minutes to play that game. Doesn't require a whole lot of brain power, so you can play it late at night when you're tired. You can play it when you're just sort of killing time in between, other activities. Very, very small box, very small table space, very versatile game that you can bring out in almost any situation as sort of just an in-between, sort of filler, time-waster game. So, in that sense, it fills the, classic role of a solitaire game of just, filling time. Just sort of letting your brain go on autopilot while you play this game and think about other things. Unfortunately, this game has pretty much been replaced at this point in my collection, and I'll tell you why. Space Alert, which I did my previous playthrough video on, takes roughly the same amount of time, 10 minutes to play, another maybe 5 to 10 minutes to do the resolution phase. A lot more going on in that game. A lot more, feeling of accomplishment. Way less luck-driven, as you saw in my playthrough. There are situations in which you just cannot control the luck of the draw. There are ways to mitigate the luck of the draw, and pretty much the whole strategy and skill of the game is making informed decisions based on the probability of the cards remaining in the deck. But if the deck is just stacked against you, as you saw, I kept starting those runs of one color, blue or red or whatever, and not drawing the card I needed to finish it. Or I discard a key hoping for just 1 green card, and none of the cards that I drew were green. A lot of luck in this game. Space Alert, almost no luck. It's all skill and how you deal with the sort of logistical coordination of dealing with these threats that come out in real time, how quickly you can process what needs to be done and do it. So Space Alert totally kills this game for me in terms of the same time, pretty similar table space, way, way more strategy. And then in terms of a simple time waster game, there's a game from Bruno Cathala and Ludovic Maublanc called SOS Titanic, which I will probably be doing a video on at a different time, which, again, roughly similar amount of table space, roughly similar amount of time that it takes. It says 30 minutes, but for a solitaire game, no, like 10 minutes maybe. And roughly as mindless as this game. This SOS Titanic is based on the classic solitaire card game, but I think it offers a few more decision points, and it's just more satisfying to play. This game, there's a lot of shuffling that, is a necessary part of the game, but at the same time, it feels a little fiddly. It can be a little frustrating to have to constantly shuffle the deck, and you sometimes get a feeling that no matter what you do, you're not going to win. In SOS Titanic, it's very difficult to win, which is basically the same as winning a game of solitaire. That's not going to happen every time you play. But it's got a really good scoring mechanism so that you can at least, try for a slightly higher score every time you play. For roughly the same amount of brain power, this is a more satisfying game for me to play. So this has really replaced Onirim for me in my collection. Should you get Onirim? For the amount of money, this is a great, great game to just have. You can buy it for about $10 online. The new edition, I think, is going up to about $20, but it's going to have a lot more stuff in the box. Like I said, I'm probably getting rid of this game, but I might be replacing it with the new edition, because I'm really excited to see what the new options bring to the table. The coolest part of this game, by far, is the different expansions that come in the game. It really feels like a really modular game, where you can play the basic game, have a pretty mindless experience, or start adding in the expansions, which give you more decisions, but more challenges that you have to face. And if you play with all the expansions at once, it is almost a completely different game. Way more going on, way more to think about. It's still sort of driven by luck of the draw, but a lot of variety depending on which ways you mix and match the expansions. And I don't know if there's like 5 expansions in the new version or more than that, but there's at least 5 expansions as opposed to 3 packed into the new version of the game. And just adding those extra 2 expansions, exponentially increases the variability, the different ways that you can combine them. So I'm definitely interested to see what that brings to the table. I'm definitely going to try it. I don't know if in the long term this game is going to stick with me, but you might like it if you're new to the idea of solitaire games. Actually, also, this is a great 2-player cooperative game. It doesn't go above 2 players, so some people, only play games with groups of 4 or more players. You can't do that with this game, but as a 2-player cooperative game, it's also really fun. It actually greatly enhances the strategic element of the game, because basically how it works is everybody's got, I don't know the exact, it's been a while since I've played the 2-player variant, but they've got some cards in their hand, and then they've got some cards in a shared hand that's on the table. When you play or discard a card on your turn, you can do it either from your hand or from the shared hand. And each player is playing to their own separate labyrinth, and they have to get 1 of each color of door. So it's a lot more demanding in that sense. You can't just go for whatever color you have the means to go for. You have to get 1 of each color to allow your other player to get 1 of each color. And when you discard a card, there's an additional action that you get to do, which is swap a card from your hand with a card from the shared hand on the table. So you can manipulate that to try and give the other player what they need. There's a lot of coordination. It feels like a true cooperative game, not just a modification of a solitaire game. So, if you're looking for a quick, fairly mindless game to play as a couple, perhaps, or with a friend, as a two-player cooperative game, this is, I think, greatly improved from the solitaire version. As a solo game, it definitely has a place as a sort of a quick, mindless, true solitaire experience of just something to do, to do on autopilot while your brain is working on other things. I'm not sure I could recommend it over SOS Titanic to fulfill that role, but if you see it in the store, $10, it's not going to hurt to pick it up. And definitely keep an eye out for the new version coming out later this year. So that is Onirim. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. Please hit me up with any comments, suggestions, what you'd like to see me record next. Have a great Labor Day again. Bye.